Hey everybody! In today's video, I'm going to be showing y'all how I make chainmail bezels that also double as like bracelets, or you can make rings out of them. It's basically, I'm going to be teaching you a half Persian 3-in-1 weave and how to join the ends. I'm going to be showing you, whenever you have a little bit more of a bird's eye view, I'm going to be showing you some different examples, like kind of up close so you can see what's going on. But yeah, let's get started. Before we do get started, I did want to mention real quick some different ring sizes and show you kind of how they look. With this half Persian 3-in-1 weave, this is an example of a stretchy bracelet that I've made out of 16 gauge 1/4 inch rings. Makes a really nice kind of bracelet. On these chainmail bezels that I've made for these eyes, I used 18 gauge 3/16, so a size down. And then for these two pieces, and I'll have these numbers written down in the comments, hopefully, if I remember to do that. But for these two, you can kind of see this one's been fractal wrapped, whereas this one has been set with like a 2-part epoxy in the back. I'll be showing you how to do that at the end of the video as well. But these are 20 gauge 1/8 inch rings on both of these. Both of them are in stainless steel because with such a thin gauge and small ring size, I don't want it to be too flimsy or anything. So for the tutorial, however, to give you kind of, I recommend this for starting off because this can get pretty frustrating. And it's chainmail, go figure. I'm going to be using 16 gauge 5/16 inch rings. So that's even bigger than what I made the bracelet out of. Okay, so now let's get started. Okay, so here we have those examples again. This is of that stretchy bracelet, which whenever you go through for this weave, you'll be using open rings and closed rings. You'll just replace the closed rings with the rubber, and that lets you make it stretchy. Here's a better look at the small chainmail along the edges. And then there on the back. And then these guys, you can kind of see, we're going to be making a 2-tone variation as well. And you can see how easy that popped out. And that's why I either do the wire wrapping or use an epoxy to set them. At the end of this video, I think I will be setting these eyes with the epoxy. But just whatever you're setting, whatever ring size you're using, you do want it to fit a little snugly. You know, that way it's not just floppy and falling right off. Like this one, you know, it's on there temporarily. Like it's okay for as it is right now, but not for actually being worn. Like I wouldn't trust this to hold really up to any kind of regular wear and tear. So let's get started. You'll want to have a bunch of rings closed. And then we're going to go through and we're going to open up some rings. And this one I am using, in this tutorial, I am using 16 gauge 5/16 anodized aluminum rings and bright aluminum rings. And I'm just going to go through and do like maybe 15 units. A unit is what I call a prepared ring combination. Like in this one, I guess some folks would call it speed weaving. I'm going to be doing 15 open rings, and then I'm going to put 1 closed ring on each of the open. And so that, to me, that's, you know, 15 units. It is completely possible to go through and weave this just 1 ring at a time, but I find it is so much more time efficient to just for me to do it this way. And again, with most things in life, this is just one way of going about it This in no way is superior or inferior, I think, to other ways of going about weaving chainmail. Now also, on your last ring, you won't put a closed ring on it. You'll put 2 closed rings on the first. And then I'm going to take that and close it. You want a nice clean closure, if you can help it. And now from here, I'm going to open the rings up like this, like in a mirror image of each other. And then I'm going to slide the second ring behind the first, so that it is stacked like this. And now I'm going to take an open ring with a closed on it and thread it through this little Venn diagram that these 2 rings made. And then I'm going to let go, and I'm going to close it. These first couple of rings is always the most difficult, because if you drop it, it's a bit of a nightmare. So I'm still holding on with my pliers to the ring that I just closed. And so I'm going to try to position these 2 back over to how they were setting originally. You can see how all that's looking. And then we have this ring just hanging here. I'm going to take that and kind of tuck it behind that first one, so you can see how they're stacking on each other. And so I'm going to grab an open ring, thread it through these 2 silver, and let go, and close it. And so now here, I mean, you can see it still just looks like a jumbled mess. That's why I do not set it down. I'm still holding on to that ring with my pliers. And I just get those 3 silver rings stacked on top of each other the way that they are. And I'm going to bring this ring that's just dangling there kind of up and behind. And then thread a black open through those 2 silver. And close it. And now you can see it is starting to hold its shape a little bit better. This last ring is still a little floppy, but that'll happen. And I'm just going to continue repeating this same ring sequence. And I've seen ways of doing the half Persian 3-in-1 weave where you would actually take a wire and thread it through like all of these silver rings to get them to lay kind of in that stacked way that they do lay. I hope these different viewpoints are helping y'all. And if you hook just one, you can bring it and just slide that right along the back. It just, the key to chainmail is repetition, I think. I'm not entirely sure what I'm making here. Like this one is, and you see how right here, I hooked through the black one? That is incorrect. So you'll just kind of pull out, and that is correct. So you don't want at any point to ever be accidentally threaded through one of the other black rings. And I'm just going to bring us around to the end. Got, looks like 4 more units before I'm on my last ring. I remember the first time I tried this weave and I tried closing this weave, I was using 20 gauge 1/8 inch rings, and it shaved good years off of my life. Like, it took me a week to like figure it out. I wish I had just started with larger rings, but what would have been the sense of adventure in that, I suppose. But I made this little like German silver and tiger's eye cabochon bracelet, and I was so determined to figure out how to set, undrilled stones and chainmail. So there we go. You can kind of see on a larger ring size like this, that trough that it forms is much less pronounced. But you can see how, they kind of come together like that, and it makes that trough. Now to do the last ring, I'm holding the end. I have this loose ring, and I'm going to stack it behind to keep that repetitious pattern going. I have my single black open that I'm going to put through that little Venn diagram. And now holding this here, you can see this is kind of hanging down. I'm going to bring this end up and around so that there are no twists, and I'm going to hook the black ring through the silver ring. So I'm going to repeat that. Just black ring right there through the silver, and I'm going to close it. And so now you can see that's the first step. The next step, that's where I just joined it, this black ring onto that silver. My next step is going to be actually to open up this silver ring right here and keeping all the rings stacked properly. So I'm just going to open that ring up. And you can see this one stacked on this one, stacked on this one, so this one needs to be stacked in front of this one. I'm so descriptive. I hope that helps. And then this silver one doesn't need to be going underneath, it needs to be going above, because this one's underneath that one needs to be underneath this one. So I'm just going to come through. I'm going to try my best to keep this on frame for you guys. And it takes, I really kind of wrench my hand around, but I make that little Venn diagram and just come on through. You may need to rewatch that a couple of times. Yeah, I'm just closing it. But that makes that continuous loop of chainmail. And I think I'm actually going to use this one as the base for I have a lot of gemstone spheres around the house, so I'm actually going to get a view from the side that I can actually sit a nice large round stone in it, either that way or this way, because it makes just a little trough. But yeah, so that's what we made just now, y'all. And now I am going to show y'all how I set my cabochons undrilled stones. I use this DevCon 5-minute epoxy, 1500 psi strength. I get this from Home Depot, but you can also get it from online suppliers. I have found that this brand is not as runny as other brands. Their 30-minute epoxy is very runny. It will bleed over into the front. So you'll need your 5-minute epoxy. I don't recommend using ice resin or anything like that because, it's so runny, you know. And a piece of scrap paper. Here I have some scrap freezer paper. And I'm just going to mix up enough to do a couple of eyes. Sorry, I'm dropping everything everywhere, it seems. But so you'll want to, I'm just going to open it. And And you'll want to, I'm going to grab some scissors, because that'll just make life a lot easier. And I'm going to remove this plastic. I don't guess you technically have to remove the plastic here, but I prefer to be able to see where the bubbles are. And now also there's this little mixing stick that comes with it. I prefer to use toothpicks because they're uniformly shaped. I prefer to use toothpicks because they're uniformly shaped, but if you don't have any toothpicks, it does come with a little mixing stick. And then the bubbles, you're going to want to let rise up to the top, which just takes a minute. And then what we can do here while we wait is actually just snip off the top without taking our finger with it. And you'll get a little bit of bubbling of epoxy up out of the ends. And the bubbles are almost all the way to the top. Close enough. Okay, and I'm just going to squeeze out a bit. And then I'm going to put the cap back on, because that's good form. Also, this stuff smells absolutely awful, and I'm pretty sure it's a bad idea to eat it, so don't eat it. And then we've only got 5 minutes here, so you do want to get it nice and thoroughly mixed. I like it because it comes pre-measured. You know, you just kind of squeeze them up out the ends. You can see it's a nice kind of thick, goopy consistency. And then we have our chainmail wrapped around our cabochons. And then I'm just going to lift up some, like a glob, onto the toothpick. And then bring it over and kind of use the tip of the toothpick to press and scooch it around to where it's filling in the back entirely and making full contact with the chainmail. I'm going to do another one. And then let me dig around here because I think I have some other stuff that could use to be epoxied. I really enjoy this epoxy. I find that it dries, being thick and goopy like this, it dries better than the E6000 in my experience. Yeah, they're kind of dusty, but I've got 2 more eyes that can get set over here. But yeah, it's as easy as this. I do prefer to do this in batches. Like, I try to always have more products made than what I've mixed the epoxy for. That way I can kind of use up extra bits and pieces. I've also used this epoxy to line non-hypoallergenic stuff, like stuff that, you know, has like copper or other base metals that could discolor or irritate your skin in it. I'll line it with this epoxy or like some Mod Podge or something. And then I try to scrape as much of the excess off the paper as I can. Kind of tap and let it just kind of fill up the backs. Now, I don't recommend this epoxy for, and that's that. Like, that's all that was on the paper for the most part. So I'm just going to fold that up. And also, now that it's folded, you'll be able to tell whenever it starts curing because it will heat up. Now, what I was going to say is I would not recommend this epoxy for if you have clear cabochons because it will start to yellow and it does have a very bad tendency to bubble. Because it dries so quickly, it'll trap air bubbles in there. But I can show you a piece that was already done. Now this is an older eye that I had done with some enameled copper 18 gauge 3/16 rings. And this is the back. And for reference, that signature, this was done in 2015, so it's almost a year old. But that signature was done in like silvery white paint. and it's on the back of the eye. So it's like you can really see how much this is yellowed, which quite frankly from the front, it doesn't matter at all. But if this were a clear cabochon or a translucent gemstone, that does start to make a difference after a while. So yeah, my paper is starting to heat up now. So you can start to tell that it is setting. Normally I would just leave them rest and leave them alone, but you can flip it over. There's no bleeding onto the front. But like you can take this one and, I mean, it's pretty solid in there. So we're all done. I hope y'all found this tutorial helpful. If you liked it, please like, share, and subscribe, and let your friends know. That way, be like, hey, look at how you could do this with chainmail. I'd love to see what y'all make with this tutorial. If you have any comments, questions, or ideas, please let me know. I love hearing from y'all. It encourages me to keep producing videos daily. So thank y'all for all of your support and for sticking through with me. I'm doing a monthly giveaway for the Homes for the Gnomeless, and if you become a $1 plus patron on Patreon, you put your name in your hat, or well, it could be your hat. You put your name in the hat for a chance to win a one-of-a-kind sculpted gnome house. And at the time of filming, it is, I believe, still November. And this is November's Home for the Gnomeless, just to give you a taste of the different kind of sculptures that I make for y'all. So yeah, be sure to check that out, and I hope y'all have a fantastic day. I'll see you guys around. Happy crafting!